Hey, my name is Brent here on Cloudy of the Chance of Meeples. Today on the channel, we are taking a look at Nunatak Temple of Ice. This game is all about building a pyramid. You are part of an ancient civilization building a Nunatak. I didn't know what a Nunatak actually was until I played this game, but it is a temple made out of ice. And so you'll be collecting different cards, 6 different ways to score, kind of a point salad, lots of different ways to score in this game, and at the end you will build this 3D pyramid. So let me show you how this plays in the radar overview. My final forecast coming up. Cue the thunder. So the radar overview for Nunatak Temple of Ice looks something like this. Before I show you how the game's played, I'm going to show you how to fit everything back in the box. This is actually the first time I've ever done this, but it's kind of a puzzle getting everything back in the box. So I'll show you how I have managed to do it, and I will say this is without like any box lift or anything like that, because like I said, it's quite a puzzle. But you got the rules, you got your player aids, you got your stacks of tiles here, the topper, your cards go here, and then to get all these pieces back, you put them back in the bags nicely, you stand them up, and then the grid goes here. But that's how I have found you can get everything back in the box. But how does this game play? Let's find out. So this is how Nunatak Temple of Ice works. I have it set up kind of for 3 players. You would have, this teal player sitting on one side of the board, orange player, and then the purple player. I will also say that typically whenever we play, we turn this at an angle so that everybody's looking at the board as a diamond. But how does this game play? Well, this is like a set collection game. Each player will get a little scoring card as well as a turn overview on the other side. And turns are pretty simple. On your turn, you are taking one of the 3 cards, potentially more, with the help of the special abilities in this Elders deck, or the Blessings deck. But you're taking one of these 3 cards, and then you are building on this giant board that's randomized every game. So each of these different symbols score differently as showed on the end game scoring. So the builders, whoever has the most of those cards gets 20 points. Otherwise, everybody gets 2 points per card. The sculptors, which would be the blue ones, they score depending on how many you have. One card gives you 3 points, whereas if you have 10, you get 75. The green artisan cards, they are tools, and depending on how many you have of each type will score differently. Beast of Burden, you times however many cards by however many horns you have. And then Architect, whenever you finish a column or a row, you move up on the Architect track, and then the Architect cards score however many cards you have by how far you are on the Architect track. And then the Elder cards, you get 1 point for every type of card. And then if you didn't use the Blessing cards, then you get 2 points per. If you have one of all 6 of them, you get 10 points per set. So lots of different ways to score. But like I said, on your turn, you are taking one of these 3 cards and you are kind of building your own little tableau. So if I would take this Architect card, I'd put it in front of me. And if I am this dark blue player, I would then take one of my tiles or one of my supports, and I would put it on one of the spots that have an Architect logo. So let's just say I do that. And then it would be the next player's turn. Maybe it would be the teal player, and they would take the Beast of Burden. They would start their own set collection. And like I said, these cards score however many cards times however many rhinos. So they would take this, and they would put it right there. Then it would be the orange player's turn, and they would take the sculptor, and they would put it there. And it'd come back around to me, and I would take, let's say, an Elder card. I'd put it in front of me, and let's just do a few more turns, and then it would be the green, they're going to start collecting these, and they're going to go there. And then it comes back to the orange player. Well, at that point, they could, if they take this builder card, they could place it here or here, and they would finish a square. And that does a couple things. But before I get to that, the builder cards are one of the 2 cards that have, I guess, special card abilities as noted on your overview. I already mentioned the elder cards, which I should have said if I would have taken this, I get one of these cards. But the builder cards, when you take those, you can swap a builder tile with any other tile and then build on that builder tile. But that's an optional thing. But the orange player, they don't want to do that. They just want to build here. At that point, you would look, okay, well, a square has been made. Who has the most in that? Well, orange player and the green player both have the same. They both have 2 supports. So they would then wouldn't share. Whoever finished it on their turn, they would get 5 points. So they would move up 5. And then whoever has the second most gets 2 points. So then the teal player, they would get 2 points. And then you would then put another level on. So you don't have to build the first level totally and then move on to the second and third and fourth. You can build, if another builder card comes out, you could build here or here or here, right? So that's what would happen. But let's say, it's all of a sudden my turn and I'm the blue player. I do the same. So now I have the majority. So I would get 5. And this player and that player, they have the second most. So they each get 2 points. Once again, we would do this. And it would then be the green player. Oh, no, sorry. It would be the green player. They would take one of these. And let's say they take the builder. At that point, they want to build on top of here. Anytime you build on the second, third, or fourth layer, you look this color, how many of the 4 supports are theirs. In this case, it's 2. So they get 1 victory point for every one of their supports. So if you can start building out, a whole section, and people are going to compete against you in this, if you can complete a full section and then build on top of it, you can get 4 victory points. Anytime you finish a column or a row, you move up on the architect track. This always gets refilled, so you always have a choice. But you finish this off, you move up on the architect track, and you keep going until the end of the pyramid is built. Whoever has the most on the outside of all the layers gets to put the cap on, and then you go into endgame scoring. Like I said, they all score differently. I should show you a couple of these elder cards. They have different special abilities. Whenever you take these cards, you get one of them. But, for example, the Blessing of Construction, immediately put this card in your personal area. And if you have the most builders, you get 25 points. If it's a tie, get 12. So instead of getting just 20, you can get 5 extra points. Blessing of the Moons, exchange one of your free ice blocks with a free ice block of another person. Blessing of Legends, immediately place this card in your personal area as an architect and move your architect track up by 1 space. So then you'll just times your architect track by however many architects, and this counts as an architect. So just different ones. This lets you score the sculptors in a different way, gives you more opportunities to take cards. This scores points equal to the value of the architect track immediately, or at the end of the game, sorry. I believe that's when, if you're blank on the space. Yeah, I think this is at the end of the game, and the one time is one-time ability. So different things will kind of change things up. If you have, one of all 6 cards, you get 15 points instead of 10. So you'll want to balance your, your set collection a little bit differently in that one. So this is what it might look like at the end of a game. And then you have the topper. Of course, all these cards would be given out. Players would have a whole bunch of cards that they would be collecting. But then you would look to see who has the most on the outside of all of the four levels. And then who has the most gets to put this on and get 7 victory points. At that point, you would then go into end game scoring. And then whoever has the most points would be the winner. That, in a nutshell, is how you play Nunatak Temple of Ice. Let's move on over now and take a look at the final forecast. So the final forecast for Nunatak Temple of Ice, a game all about 3D construction, building this pyramid that looks absolutely fantastic, okay? Let's call a spade a spade. The production of this is absolutely fantastic. These supports that players get, purple, blue, I'm colorblind to a degree, so I said blue, I said purple in the radar overview, but they're great. They're nice and thick, sturdy plastic. It just looks fantastic on the table. Kwanchai Moria, the artist of this game, really captures the whole vibe of this ancient civilization coming together, whether it's a builder, an architect, a sculptor, an artisan, just the art on the cards, the look of this game as you build it out is just fascinating. It's so cool. To me, this game feels like kind of a classic family game. And I grew up in the 90s, and there were a lot of kind of terrible mass market games in the 90s. But I feel that if my memory thinks back, a lot of the games had these like grandiose or gaudy production. You know, Mousetrap had all these things, and the great Grape Escape and 13 Dead End Drive. These games from the 90s that maybe weren't the best games, but had like really cool components. That's what this reminds me of. But it has the great and really cool components, but it's actually a fantastic game. This is a pretty light family game. It says 45 minutes on the box, and I'd say that's pretty accurate. Plays 2 to 4 players, actually plays 1 to 4. I haven't played the solo, but I played the 2, 3, and 4 player count. They all play different in their own way. I'll speak on that momentarily. But to me, this has just fun set collection and a point salad way of scoring. And if that word or point salad, that phrase doesn't make sense, point salad is a term that we use in the board gaming hobby for just different ways to score. There's 6 different ways to score in this game. 6 with the cards, but then you're also scoring when you're putting those supports out there, and if when you finish a square, depending on who has the most supports in that square, they get points. And then when you build on top of the other level, depending on how many of the supports you've built on top of, you get points. So there's tons and tons of ways to get points, and you can easily get over 200 points in this game. And I love that. I love games where you score just a boatload of points. And I think, kids will really enjoy that as well, because you start putting these things in and you're like, I got, 4 points here, 6 points here. I'm scoring this at the end. I'm getting 15, 18, 24 points. And it just makes you feel good when you play games that gets you a lot of points, because you put time into it and then your score is high and it just makes you feel good. And kids feel good about that too. This is a family game. Although I played with my family, I played with my game group, and I've enjoyed both settings. I said that this plays differently at the 2, 3, and the 4 player count. Let me just speak on that in a moment. For a moment, the 3 player count setup is absolutely normal. You get the same amount of turns. Everybody gets, I think, 18 turns. In a 2 player game, you and your opponent split a third color, and you play as like a dummy color, like a dummy player. And that's pretty like cerebral, because you can take cards that will directly affect your opponent. That, like, maybe they're going for architects. You purposely just take that one, discard it,
and that third player then builds on that architect spot, because the architect cards, they score, they kind of compound. Well, they don't compound wherever you're at on your track times however many cards you have. And so, you can really hinder your opponent in that 2-player. 3-player, like I said, it plays kind of straightforward. 4-player is a little bit different. There's a few different rules when you have the majority control, placing new tiles, as well as two out of the 4 players will get an extra turn compared to the other 2. So 4 is a little bit different. 2 is a little bit different. 3 is kind of like steady Eddie, just like follow the path type deal. So they all play different in their own way. I think 3 is probably my favorite. 4, again, isn't bad, but there are a few other rules with the 4-player that you have to be aware of. This game plays like super snappy turns to a degree. Super snappy turns in the sense of on your turn, you're just taking one of the 3 cards, and then you're taking one of your supports and putting it on. That's the quick aspect of it. It slows down a little bit because then you have to stop, look at the board. Did you finish a square? Did you finish a row or a column or both? And that slows things down a little bit, which is kind of a little bit on the negative side for myself because turns are so quick when you're just drafting, and it's just fun to be like, I'm taking this Beast of Burden, put it in my stack, I put it on there. Should be the next player's turn, but no, you have to have that kind of extra step. And I had a little bit of a rules gaffe in the Raider overview, saying that whenever you finish a square, those 4 supports, whoever has the most of the colors of their color, they get 5 points, and whoever has the second most gets 2. But if there's a tie, they both get 2. No, they actually both only get 1. Whoever has the second most gets 2. So there's a few things that are a little bit like, not methodical, but like, you just have to go through mechanical. Maybe that's the word I'm thinking of. So do be aware of that. It kind of slows it down a second, or you just have to remember that. Because then again, if someone finishes a row or column, then they also move up on the architect track, and then you put a new floor on there. So there are a few things that might slow the game down a little bit, but it still plays in 45 minutes. It still gives a little bit of like excitement as you build this pyramid, because it's always going to be built. Whoever has the most on the outside gets to put the topper on. Kids love that because they want to put this little 3D top on. That person also gets 7 victory points. So there is enough to think about when playing this game. That it might be a little heavier per se than it might look. Because, again, there's 6 different ways to score. You're doing your set collection. Which ones are you taking? You're also looking at the majority of, if I take this card, I'll have the majority and I can finish, this segment and I get 5 points. But it may not help my set collection. And so you have to weigh that out. Whoever has the most on the outside, they get to put this topper on. So then you got to think, maybe I want to build on the outside to get 7 points. Because if I get 7 and you don't get 7, it's a 14-point swing. If you would have got the 7 and I wouldn't have, right? And so you got to think about those things. Just a lot of fun in this game. Thinking back, I didn't even talk about the Elder cards. You get these early in the game. It'll kind of give you a little bit of direction. And because some of them, it's like, the Blessing of the Dormant. At the end of the game, you score extra for Sculptors. Well, if you get this, then you just go for Sculptors. Whereas, Blessing of Insight, you get equal points to your Architect track. While you take this, then you're trying to really move up that Architect track. There's some that just score you extra. Blessing of Change with the Artisans. 2 points. Blessing of Stability. 2 points for each of your ice blocks on the corners of the first 3 layers. First 3 levels, a maximum of 14 cards or 14 points. And so, Blessing of Luck, 6 victory points at the end of the game. So those Elder cards are just fun to take and, kind of build your strategy on, per se. If this would have come out when I was growing up, this probably would have been one of my favorite games. Because of the look of it, because you're building this thing, because you get a whole boatload of points. because it has set collection. I love set collection. I think it's just something satisfying about taking like specific things and building out your little tableau and, you know, your beast of burden. Oh, I have 4 of them, which is a total of 8 little rhino heads. So 8 times 4, 30. I got 32 points from all my beasts of burden. I don't know if the math would actually work out in that, but there's just a lot going on that I absolutely love about this game. To me, it's a 90% chance of meeples. This is a fantastic family game. This is going to be on my short list on some of my favorite games of 2024. It's just a ton of fun. The upkeep in it is a little bit, pulls it back a tiny bit for me, because you have to be like, you know, as mentioned, okay, how many are support? Did I finish this? Row, column, put the next tile on. Like, there is some things like that. I will say it's not finicky. Even with all these tiles and you have that builder one, they can easily be moved. So it's not finicky. It looks like it might be finicky, but it truly isn't. This is just a really fun family game, or light strategy game. Ages 10 and up, it says. Plays 45. Right in my sweet spot. Not the age 10 and up, but the time, 45 minutes is like my sweet spot. But I love this game. 90% chance of meeples. Absolutely fantastic. Nunatak, Temple of Ice. Highly recommend it. My name is Brent. Until next time, grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.